Hey everyone, welcome to the show. And today we're doing a special show. I brought in my friend Peter Day, who is a diehard fan. He's the expert. So we're diving in. Should the Toronto Maple Leafs actually rebuild? Wow, this is going to be a great topic. Peter, welcome to the show. Welcome. I first of all want to say I'm sorry for your loss.
Hey, you know what? First of all, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me. Secondly, I honestly, it just looked like the better team won in Game 7. They looked like they did in Game 5 in Toronto. They forechecked like crazy. They really put pressure on our defense, and we couldn't respond to it. I think after 2 periods, I think we had 12 shots on goal or something like that. You're not going to win in the playoffs like that. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and they just didn't show up, right? So today we're gonna fans are very mad. They are furious, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and I get it because it's been it's cup or bust mentality in Toronto, and it's been a hot minute. It's been 1967. Ouch, right? But here's the thing. You and I are going to actually talk about, okay, if this team actually rebuilds, we're going to get into like what that would look like. But we're also going to talk whether we think this team should rebuild. I think there's just a lot of overreaction theater that's going on. It's recency bias. So talk to me as a fan, the frustration of seeing this again. Is it 5 Game 7s you've lost now?
I think that's 6. I think
Oh
that
my
was the
goodness.
6th. I think that was the 6th one.
Ouch.
And none of them get any easier. The only thing that happens with this one is at least we were in the second round, ready, like going to the conference championship if you win. So there is a little bit of, we've moved ahead a little bit there. But it doesn't hurt any less. And at least, if you lose 2-1 in overtime, you can eat it a little bit. But the way Florida played in the second period yesterday, we didn't even look like we were there. It's about heart, and that's the one thing. Like, we've got a lot of skilled players and that sort of thing, but it's about heart. It's about those guys that go in and dig deep. And we can maybe talk about the lines that we had on the ice, and are actually in Game 7, in my opinion. Our fourth line was absolutely our best line.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's ridiculous to say that. Like, you go, how does that even, like the first 2 lines, when you're talking about the Barkov line, and he's playing with Kachuk and stuff like that, they're creating havoc. Our first 2 lines honestly looked like they didn't even, I don't know. They were figure skating last night. Let's just say that.
Yeah. And as a Canucks fan, I know what it's like to lose Game 7 in the second round against the Edmonton Oilers. We are 1 goal away.
Yes.
We also know how to lose the Game 7 finals against Boston and don't score 1 goal, get shellacked 4-0 on home ice. It was, we rioted. That's what happened.
And honestly, in the New York Rangers boat, it was at 94, Game 7 as well.
It hurts.
You guys. So
I think that was in New York though, but it still hurt. So we totally understand. And it's really frustrating to watch your team lose this way. I'm glad they were there. I'm glad they experienced. I'd rather be in the playoffs losing those games than just sitting like us golfing, complaining about our team. So at least for you guys, at least you're there. At least you get to watch your team. I know you want to win the cup.
There was a decent playoff run. Unfortunately, we played 13 games in the playoffs this year. I don't know whether to be proud of that or what.
Right.
But I kind of have this little vibe right now, and I'm not like a curses guy, or like a guy who sort of believes in this sort of thing. However, if you do start thinking about the Boston Red Sox with the curse of the Bambino, and until 2003. I forget what I think it was 60 years or 70 years or something like that. And so you start going, okay, like, what is it that's going to have to change here in order for this to work? And that's kind of what brings us to the topic today.
Absolutely. Okay. So we're going to get into this big question in just a minute. Should the Toronto Maple Leafs actually rebuild? But there's a couple things we want to talk about. Here are some of the facts. People are saying, and it has been true so far, that the Toronto Maple Leafs cannot win with this core. And then people say, well, the definition of insanity is keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. But then I keep thinking about the Washington Capitals. And
in 2018.
And they're sitting there, and everyone was saying these things, these exact things about your Toronto Maple Leafs, and they found a way. It's like the dam broke for that one season, then they went and won it. So I'm now Canucks fans are traditionally Leaf haters. Okay, I don't get it. It's like we have city envy, or we're like competition. I don't know what it is.
Right.
I'm not one of those guys. I'm one of the weird ones, weird Canucks fans that actually respect the Leafs.
Yeah.
I don't hate the Leafs. But this year in the playoffs, Peter, I found so many Canuck fans cheering for the Leafs, which is so weird for me.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking at this team, I'm like, can they not just be like the Capitals and just figure it out one season? Do you believe that this core they cannot win a Stanley Cup with?
I honestly don't think they can. And here's the thing. My concern is that we're stuck in the whole Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner thing. We talked about moving Willie over into the first line and switching that up a little bit. We never ended up doing that. And my concern is these guys have shown pretty much 5 seasons in a row that in the playoffs they pretty much disappear. Now Marner had points in the first series, and so did Matthews, but we're not talking like elite points. If we're paying players, I believe he's finished his deal now, so I believe he's at 10.6, and Matthews is at like 11.75 or something like that. So we're talking for like 22 mil. You got to have some playoff production, and we have it wasn't this year. It wasn't just last year. It wasn't the first year when they were rookies because they came in together. This is a constant. This is a thing. And so that's Ryan O'Reilly, when he was with the Leafs he was with them just for a playoff run. And they could have resigned him. And he's like, no way. There's no heart in the dressing room. It's a bunch of skill players. And you watch Matthews last night, he's stick checking everything. The guy's like, I don't know, is he 6'3", 220, 225 or something like that? Guy is stick checking everything. Kachuk's throwing his body all over the place, the captain of the Florida Panthers, and actually going in and doing things. So with this group, the way that they play, I think Matthew Nyes is a really good accent for Austin Matthews, but I don't think he needs a guy like Mitch Marner on his line. And as it ends up, Marner's going to end up disappearing anyway, most likely. I would say there's a 90% chance because he's an unrestricted free agent July 1st. And the poor thing that that really stings us in that is that I think that Brendan Shanahan really felt strongly that we had a chance to win the cup, so he kept him rather than doing something at the trade deadline where we would have received at least some sort of compensation for him. Now he's an unrestricted free agent July 1st. We get nothing. He signs with whoever he's going to sign with.
Right. If he walks, right?
Okay. But I would be surprised if he doesn't walk. I don't think the Leafs are going to offer him $11 or $12 million, and I think that some team will. Via kind of Rantanen thought process, like it'll kind of be one of those teams, I think.
Okay, so speaking of Rantanen, let's bring this up. Apparently, there was a deal in place, Mitch Marner for Rantanen to go to Carolina.
Yeah,
when they're trying to, and Mitch Marner axed the deal because he had the no trade clause and he wanted to stay in Toronto. He's an Ontario boy, right?
Yep.
And so I believe, and I'm not a Leafs fan. You're way more connected. You're the expert. I'm just the outsider looking at it. I believe that Mitch Marner will be offered a $12 million deal by the Toronto Maple Leafs. They will then, and he will sign it. He will be back. That's my guess, because so that's just my big, like right there, right? So obviously, if you guys got Rantanen, that would have been amazing. We'd have a whole different conversation right now, probably.
Yes.
He is on. He's probably the best player in the NHL playoffs, right?
Yep.
But I think Mitch Marner's coming back. I could be wrong. But you are like letting him walk is an epic fail.
I don't think so. See, that's where I disagree. I think that you have to make some changes. So the other thing that to take note of right now, I'm not sure if we're gonna get into this specifically, but John Tavares, his contract officially actually is up. as of, I think, May 12th or May 15th. His contract is done. So,
They both
he
are.
had a
Marner
$72 million
and
deal.
Tavares are, right?
That's 11 million a season right there. And then Marner's 10.6 million a season. My concern
Marner's
is, I think that you
10.9.
bring, what's that?
10.9 and Tavares is 11.
Yeah. So you're 22 million in for the most part, right?
Yeah.
So in that process, my thought is I'm not against bringing back Marner. I love Tavares. Like, I'm wearing his jersey, and notice that I'm wearing the C because I believe he's the captain of the Leafs.
Totally.
We'll get into that's a whole nother piece for me. But the process is, if we bring back one of them, there are other unrestricted free agents that are out there right now that I think make us better. So it's like, okay, so if a guy like Marner disappears in the, do you know what I like the thought process of? I like the leadership of John Tavares at a lower price. I like him at like 7.5, 8 million.
Yep.
And we have a defenseman who actually plays for the Florida Panthers, who is, in my opinion, a top 10 defenseman by far, who is a free agent as of July 1st, Aaron Ekblad. And I'm like, hey, we put him on our blue line, probably pay him around 7, 8, 9 maybe. You end up with Tavares, if that's the case, making less. You're still up on your cap, and I think that you get better. There's enough skill on the Leafs team offensively that I don't think that Marner disappearing in the playoffs means anything. Like, I don't think it benefits us at all. Yes, he scores 85, 90, 95 points in the regular season, but we've seen time and time and time and time again how he disappears in the playoffs. So that's not worth 11 or 12 million dollars to me. That's the process. I have no dislike for him. I'm thankful for Marner and what he's done for the team and stuff like that. He looks good in leaf blue. I get it. But we've got to figure out this playoff thing. And Matthews is one of them. Matthews is one of the things. If Matthews was an unrestricted free agent, I'd be saying the same thing about that guy. 60 goals or otherwise, we're not showing up in the playoffs.
Yeah.
We didn't suffer, Trev, because of defensive play. Yes, our goaltending there was some sketchy games, but there was also some really solid games in there. And I think our defense was really good during this playoffs. We have some guys on D right now that I don't want to lose. The other thing is the Morgan Riley thing. Morgan Riley could be gone, which would save us some money and open up a little bit more room for Marner if that was the case. So there's another piece of it there.
Yeah,
but we have some guys
million.
right now. I think Tanev was absolutely brilliant throughout the whole playoffs. Moved the puck so well. And Benoit, dude, he had a breakaway there. They said his max speed was 38 kilometers an hour as a defense.
Crazy.
Like, I love the guy. I don't let him go anywhere. Right. So to me, you add a guy like Ekblad to that group. I think we're a better team.
Yeah. Okay, so I think John Tavares will sign for less. He loves it in Toronto, that kind of thing. Here's a crazy thing. Goals during the regular season. Okay, Nylander had 45. Tavares was your second highest with 38.
Yep.
People don't realize how good of a season Tavares had.
Oh,
and then Austin Matthews only had 33.
Yep.
And it's like Mitch Marner's at 27. We know he's the assist guy, right? So Marner has 75 assists. He was 102 points, the only 102-point player. I know that those are regular season and doesn't always translate to playoffs.
Yep.
But in saying that, and I'm just looking up those ones, Nylander had 15 points. Mitch Marner had 13. Austin Matthews had 11. Paxaretti had 8. And then Nyes, Domi, Riley, and Tavares all tied at 7, right? So that's important to know. It's not good enough, obviously, but it was close. I think that if you had Stolarz in net, you probably would have won a couple more of those games, and it wouldn't have gone to game 7. I like Wool, but I think Stolarz is a bit better of a goaltender. Now, that's hindsight 2020, and it's still guessing. Maybe you wouldn't have. I like this team, so obviously I'm not saying you should rebuild. I get really frustrated, Peter, because in Vancouver, we're basically having the same conversation and saying we need to rebuild, right?
Yeah.
we can't make the playoffs and we need to burn it to the ground and start back up. And I'm like, I don't want to lose Quinn Hughes. Like, I don't care what happens. You can't lose a guy like that. I don't want to rebuild, because here's the question that I want to ask you is that would season ticket holders actually stay faithful for a 6 to 10 actual year rebuild?
You know what? The crazy thing about the Toronto Maple Leafs is the Toronto Maple Leafs, I believe, have a 27-year wait list for season tickets. So I've been on the wait list for 12 years. So
wow.
So so will they stay faithful? They're going to buy tickets either way, because like Montreal, I think about 60 to 70% of ticket sales are corporate. So it's like a massive percentage, and maybe it's not that high. Maybe it's only 50, but it's like a huge portion where we're not looking for single season ticket holders to purchase tickets. Almost the whole bottom level is corporate. So I don't think it changes anything. The Toronto Maple Leafs are actually the second most profitable sports franchise in North America, next to the New York Yankees. So I don't think anything is going to change for them as far as those things go. It's just the fact that you lose fan support, you lose, like, people get frustrated with it. But at the same time, in saying that, Leaf Nation is Leaf Nation. I just watched my team get blown out in Game 7. And don't get me wrong, I'm happy football season's approaching, but I am no less a Leaf fan. I will always be a Leaf fan. I was at the Gardens in 1978. I'm aging myself. Here we go, back in the day as a kid. And I don't think I press in any other way, but the Leafs. I just couldn't do it. I love watching the Oilers. I think McDavid is amazing. But as far as my allegiance goes, my allegiance doesn't change because we don't get through the playoffs. I think that you stop being a fan and you start being finicky at that point. So I don't think they lose any fan support at all. They're just going to have to listen to it in the press. They're just going to have to hear it all summer long. It's going to be a long off season. And I think that we need some pieces that we can add that are young, that don't make a huge number. We have a lot of players over $10 million currently, and I don't think that helps us at free agency time. It's not helping us. Our draft picks are not fantastic right now because we're finishing high. So we need to be able to be developing those players. Just to touch on Joseph Woll, I think the time is just a little bit early for Joseph Woll. I feel like he is potentially our goaltender of the future. So
Okay.
I don't have any problem with him. I think that he got hung out to dry a couple times. He let in 2 soft ones last night, but the other ones were off rebounds in the slot, and we were just standing still, and we weren't taking that second puck away. So there's another piece to that as well. Like, don't get me wrong, Stolarz was playing really well before he went out, but
yeah. No, that's a great point. That's a really great point. And let's dive into this last one, and then we're going to dive into what an actual rebuild would be. So here's this is not an excuse. This is a legitimate reason, in my opinion. To be the best, you have to beat the best. Who has Toronto lost to in the playoffs? Stanley Cup champions, the Florida Panthers, the Boston Bruins, and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Talk about having to face very, very difficult teams. Like, this is insane. Vancouver's facing Edmonton in the second round, who went to the finals, didn't win, but came close. So like, let's give Toronto a little bit of credit that, like, they are facing the best teams in the league.
Yeah, I think what's really important about that is, and this is not about the Leafs. This is like a hockey playoff thought process. When we're talking about, and Craig Berube has done a really good job at this. So I'm with this, okay? But we're talking about going into a 7-game series against these 3 teams who have been our nemesis the last few years, right? With I think it was 18 or 19. Montreal did something stupid to us as well, maybe 20. But I just mean, these are the 3 teams. This is what we run up against in the playoffs. What these 3 teams have, like, you have, don't get me wrong, you have Barkov for Florida. Outstanding player, is going to be a good player still for a long time. Boston, when they were back in the Patrice Bergeron thing, you know, there was that sort of thing. But those teams that we're talking about right now, these are grinding teams. These are teams that forecheck you to death. They put so much pressure on your defense to clear your zone that eventually you get tired and turnovers happen. That, like, we don't grind. Matthew Nyes grinds. Our fourth line of Yarncroc, Loughton, and Lorenz, they grind. Our top three lines are not grinding lines. You didn't, like, Marner does not go into corners and hits. Austin Matthews at his side most certainly doesn't. He rubs people off the puck. He doesn't go in and lay a hit on somebody like Matt Tkachuk does. It doesn't happen. And so it's like, dude, I don't know if they're telling him to not do that or if that's just never been part of his game. I love his skills, but those three teams will hit you so much. And that in the playoffs is what wears teams out. And in a 7-game series, they probably win because you're now shying away from the hit. You're trying to move the puck too quickly. Last night we were passing the puck up the middle of the ice out of our zone. Like, we're in the defensive corner, sending it up the middle of the ice. It's like, dude, what are we doing? That's crazy. Like, and so, you know, Marner had a couple of really, really expensive turnovers last night. That is not something that an $11 million player can do for you. So does he score his 90 to 100 points in the regular season? Sure. But he gave away 2 pucks up the middle, one of them resulting immediately in a goal, the other one in a grade A scoring opportunity. You cannot do that in the playoffs and win.
I agree. Okay, so do you think the Toronto Maple Leafs should actually rebuild this thing, like just tear it down? Like, do you think yes or no? You said the Ekblad thing. Like, for example, if you let Marner walk, okay, and you sign Brock Besser to $8 million times 7 years,
yeah,
like, I know it's a downgrade, but is it really a downgrade? You know what I'm saying?
Besser plays with heart. Like, I don't think that you're signing a guy like that to score you 50 goals. And if he scores you 40, you're happy, or he scores you 35, you're happy. But I'm saying we need the people that play with heart. Like, one of our best players is probably our slowest skaters, Chris Tanev. And the guy moved the puck effectively. He took hits. He took punishment. He played like a playoff player. And so those are the players. When you watch Aaron Ekblad, that dude holds the line on offense and he will crush you on defense. I love his game. And so you go, if we're going to spend that kind of money, let Riley go. Let either Tavares or Marner go, or have them sign for a lesser deal and sign a guy. And the other person that's out there, unrestricted free agent, the Winnipeg Jets, Neil Pionk.
Yeah.
Dude, we would take Pionk. I love that sort of game that he has. When Morrissey went down, they had that injury that he went down. They went into that super long overtime game. I think Neil Pionk he was 46 minutes of playing time in that game. Like, dude, and still didn't make a mistake. They won that game. Like, dude, that is amazing. So those kinds of players with that kind of playoff sort of pros, like, come on, let's drive it. No, I don't think that we rebuild. I think that we actually have a lot of the pieces in place. I think that we are in a tweak position. But what would it look like is what you're asking me.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what we're going to get into right now. So I'm gonna switch this over, Pete, so you can see this better.
Yeah.
And we're gonna talk about it. Let's just say, well, let's blow it up. Let's just do the overreaction theater. Fans are mad, furious, and here's the conversation. Okay, so here's the contracts. Okay, I think everyone can see us still. Yeah, I don't know if they can see us perfectly, but let's see if I can move this to better. Yeah, I think, can we do this? Yeah, I think that's better. I don't know. Is that better?
Sure.
Does it matter? No, it doesn't matter. Okay. So the Austin Matthews, like, what could you get for Austin Matthews right now? That would be a blockbuster of a deal. Are you going to get something in return that could be amazing? You know what I mean? Like, let's start with him. Like, what could you get? I mean, you should be able to get unbelievable, but he's signed till 2028, $13.25 million. He's in the top 5, top 3, maybe.
I think that honestly, Austin Matthews gets a couple more years to switch around and see what he can do right now. Honestly, and I'm going to say this before anybody says it. I've never heard anybody say it but me, and it's crazy talk. Very close in their years and their deals are Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid. I believe that we end up giving up Austin Matthews and a first-round pick in a couple of years, and McDavid plays the last few years of his career in Toronto. And that, to me, is the opportunity, genuine opportunity for a Stanley Cup. Not to say that it can't happen before then. I'm not saying that. But I would say that he is from Ontario. He probably would love to play in that area. He probably grew up a Leaf fan. I'm sure he probably was. Like, similar to the Tavares story, similar to the Mitch Marner story. Tavares always wanted to come back to Toronto. And so in the end, and nothing against the Oilers, I love him in Edmonton as well. But I think that we end up with him. So the only thing that I see happening with Austin Matthews is a player like that has a different style of game, makes around the same salary, and is about the same age. And there's only a few of those players. It's not straight up by any means. We end up giving up something as well with Matthews to get Connor McDavid. But
it's not. It wouldn't be this offseason.
And no. We're talking probably the end of 26.
Yeah. So you know what's funny about that, Peter, is actually I've been saying that as well. I don't think, like, I was thinking, I think Connor McDavid wins the Stanley Cup, and it's not with Edmonton Oilers, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was with Toronto. Can you imagine if that is the trade in a couple years? Okay. And you're sitting there and you make this blockbuster because McDavid goes, I want to leave, but I'm not going to walk on you. I'm going to say I want to go, and they can pull off a deal. Let's say Austin Matthews in a first rounder for McDavid.
Yep.
And then McDavid brings them a cup, like gets them to the cup. They win it. It would be pandemonium. It would be like
RevTrev, preach. I am all over that. I would do that deal. I would be the GM of the Maple Leafs right now. I would do that deal. If we made a trade with the worst team in the league and had the number 1 overall pick, I would say Matthews and the number 1 overall pick and our second round pick next year for McDavid. Ooh. And I would then come on this podcast and guarantee you a Stanley Cup within 2 years. McDavid changes this team. McDavid right now is not scoring on a huge note for the Edmonton, but he is out there and he creates havoc defensively. He creates horrible matchups all the time, and that power play with McDavid on there can strike at any time. Even if they struggle, with Matthews out there right now, I don't see it, man. I don't see it. It's like we have these little hot streaks, and they never seem to happen in the playoffs. McDavid is a performer all the time, and even when he struggles, he really plays well. So it's just the difference of those kinds of players, and I think that that's the difference for us right now.
And I'm with you. But this year that won't happen. So if we're not going to rebuild, and the plan is we're keeping Austin Matthews. You're not going to get a McDavid, a Draisaitl, I don't know what other players you'd want for him.
Like the only other one that I can think of is what's his name in Tampa, but he's too old. Kucherov, and I don't think like the age difference is too much. Like
they don't play the same position either, right? You're looking for a centerman, right?
Yep.
Okay, so if we go back to this now, so we've got that. So we got Matthews is staying. Okay, so we're rebuilding the team right now. Okay. Yep. So this season we let Mitch Marner, I guess you and I are playing GM here. So we let Mitch Marner walk. 10.9 million freed up.
Yep.
Tavares, sign him. Let's just say 8 million. Are you okay with that?
Tavares?
Yeah.
Tavares is a leader, man.
Yeah,
Like
what I'm saying is, do you think that's an okay number, or is it going to be 9 million? What do you think it's going to be for him?
I think that honestly, I think that Johnny T is going to be really good to the Leafs. I think he wants to play in Toronto. I think that we need to get into stuff where we end up working onto incentives. So you say to Johnny T, and he doesn't have to hit the cap with it. You say $7.5, $8 million. You score 30 goals again, we give you 2.
Okay.
Like, to me, that's a good way to keep a good player who doesn't feel like he has the ego that he needs to make 11, 12, 12.5 million.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I
And
think
then
he knows his position.
okay. And then I'm assuming you re-sign Matthew Nyes.
Matthew Nyes is probably the best player in the Toronto Maple Leafs right now.
Wow.
I would say as an overall player that can score, that can hit, that forechecks, that is like that power forward, that classic power forward. I think I think he's our best player right now.
Say it again with us. Like Matthew
I
Nyes
think
is.
he is the best player in the Toronto Maple Leafs right now. As far as what we're talking about for future, the guy that you want to keep and sign to an 8-year deal is Matthew Nyes.
So there are teams that are talking about they want to do an offer sheet on Matthew Nyes.
Of course they do. Same
Of
way they
course.
did with same way that Edmonton did with
Well, St. Louis did it to Edmonton with the Broberg and that, but that's not the same kind of player. You're talking
yeah.
about Hyman?
I'm talking about Hyman, yeah. So
Yeah.
Hyman was that guy. So he was playing with Marner, and he was that guy that goes in the corners. He gets loose pucks. He has the ability to score 30 goals. He scored 50, I think, for Edmonton last year. So he's that same player, and we replaced him with Nyes, and we need to keep Nyes.
What do you think Nyes will get?
What do I think he's worth?
Well,
Like, what do I think
I'll bring it up.
be, or what do the
Actually,
Leafs end up paying him? The Leafs end up paying Matthew Nyes somewhere in the range of 8.5 to 9.5 mil.
right. What is it? Is it ADP? No. There's something. There's that thing that they're doing, and they're saying how much each player's worth. Not ADP. It's something like that. I did a video on it.
Yeah. Like, to me, if you're going to spend that money, he's that playoff performer. And you look at his numbers, and his numbers weren't spectacular. But when you watch the game, if you're actually watching the game and not just looking at stats, first of all, let's say the last couple of games he was injured. He looked super ginger in warm up last night. He was barely skating around, so there's something going on there. But when he's going, he's probably top 3 fastest guys on the team, and he hits like a truck. And that is a playoff guy. He'll go into the corner, he'll come out of the corner, he'll score a dirty goal in front of the net, and that's what I want in the playoffs.
Right. So right now it says the offer sheet that people with the new thresholds, they would say that some people would offer him a $9.3 million contract.
Yeah.
But they think that the hypothetical long-term deal for Nyes would be an 8-year, $7 million AAV, which you just sign right now. Like if someone signed him for that, you just signed him $7 million, no doubt about it, right?
Done.
Yeah, it might even give them a better thing. But if they don't, they get a first, a second, and a third round draft pick for that.
It's still if someone puts an offer sheet out to Nyes for under 8.5 million, you meet it.
Okay.
No, like foolish if you don't meet that.
Okay, so Marner's gone, Matthews stays, Nylander's
under big contract right now. He's going to be hard to get rid of.
Yeah.
Nylander, you and I have talked about this. I wasn't a huge Nylander guy. To me, he was kind of one of those guys, but this season, the end of last season, the playoffs here, he was quite good. I think that if anybody's close to earning that larger salary on the team right now, it's Nylander. So I don't think you can do anything with that. And then the other side of it is, what team is going to say, because I think what's Nylander, 11.5. 11.5, like, that's getting close to the Draisaitl-ish type Matthews number kind of scenario. I mean,
Elias Pettersson.
Like,
Sorry. Yeah.
It's a
Elias
story.
Pettersson for Marner straight up. Deal. Okay.
Yeah. I'm sure you guys would love that deal.
I would, even if he's getting 12 million a year.
Right.
Okay, so Pete, Max Domi, like this is a smoking deal. I think this is a heart and soul kind of
The
guy.
only deal that's better is Pacioretty, bro.
Pacioretty is, let's see, where is he at? Oh my goodness, 873,000.
Pacioretty was a stud in the playoffs.
My goodness. Yeah.
Pacioretty made about 25,000 per playoff game.
36 years old. You can re-sign him. But
and
Max
I'll bet you
Domi's
he
there
comes
until
back.
2028, right?
Yep.
So you're keeping him.
Yep. And at $3.5 million, that's a good value, I think.
Yeah, 3.75. That's a good deal, I think, with especially you're getting playoff performance. Okay, so the rest of these contracts, like it's the big boys that you're really like you need to move. So you've got cheaper John Tavares, you got cheaper Mitch Marner, and now we're
jump
going
into the defenseman, bro.
Yeah, now we're going to defenseman.
You gotta offer something and pay a quarter of Morgan Riley's salary. He's not worth $7.5 million. I'm sorry.
31 years old, Pete,
at best,
7.5 until 2023.
Yeah, crazy.
Sorry, 2030. My bad, 2030.
He just signed his deal. He is paid twice as much as every defenseman except for Tanev. And in the playoff series against Florida, he had the least minutes. Like, no.
Here's the thing. He's got a no movement clause.
Yeah, he's got a no movement clause. We cut him.
All right. Okay, so we've made some money now.
Dude, I've had it. I've had it with Morgan Riley. Dude has been there, I think, for 2 years longer than Matthews and Marner and Nylander. It is not. There is no safety back there with him. Yes, he moves the puck. Yes, he's solid on the power play. I get that, but we haven't done it with him. And so if you look at those other defensemen, dude, look at Benoit and Tanev combined salary.
Yep, cheaper than them.
Are you kidding? And it's not about not wanting Morgan Riley. It's about not wanting Morgan Riley at almost $8 million.
Right.
So if we're talking about blowing up, that's what I'm talking about. I don't think this happens, by the way. But if we're talking about blowing up, that's where we free up a little bit more money is on the blue line.
Yeah. Ekman Larson, OEL is really popular in Vancouver. We're still paying his salary. We're still getting hosed on that one.
I think he's a solid 4 or 5, buddy.
Yep. If he's 4 or 5, I agree. And 3.5 million, that's a great deal. It's a great deal. He's got a ton of experience.
Yep.
How about Jake McCabe? Just keep him there. 4.5 million starting next year.
That is great. I think McCabe, we have not seen his best hockey. I think this guy is a star. He ends up being, before he leaves the Leaf, he's at least a guaranteed 2 all the time.
Wow. Okay, so we've really cleared up some cap space here because there's no Marner. Tavares is done. You've traded Morgan Riley.
Yep.
Now you can take that money, and what are you going to do with that money? Are you going to
first thing is sign Aaron Ekblad? 28 or 29 years old, really still in prime condition, big body, kind of reminds me of the Hedman type defenseman, and those guys win you series. So I think he's 6 months older than Marner is what I think he is.
But is he a UFA? I'll just check real quick.
I'm not sure if he's unrestricted, but he's a free agent coming up.
Okay, so he is a UFA coming up, making $7.5 million, same as Morgan Riley. Do you think that the Florida Panthers will not re-sign him?
I think that they have a few players that they need to sign.
Sam Bennett, Brad Marchand. Speaking of which, he's a Leaf killer.
I
Seth Jones making $7 million.
see
Forrest
Seth
Lang's
Jones is
making
another one. Seth Jones on our blue line. Absolutely. Would I
Yeah.
take either of those players or Neil Pionk over Morgan Riley every day and 3 times on Sunday, bro?
Yeah, but he's signed till 2030, so he won't be available.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, those kinds of players, like
Yeah.
those,
Yeah.
like, I think Seth, I think I heard last night in the game, I think that Seth Jones this year, and again, I believe this is the stat, I think he averaged 30 minutes a game.
Wow.
It is some insane number.
It's like that's almost like Quinn Hughes numbers.
Yeah.
Great.
And Seth Jones is like in the 6'3", 6'4" range and a beast out there, right? So those are the pieces when we talk about getting rid of or sort of letting the UFAs just be UFAs and all that sort of stuff. I think you give the Leafs a different look. I don't think you blow it up, so to speak. The core, there's still pieces of the core that are going to absolutely remain intact, but Morgan Riley has not been a playoff performer for us. Mitch Marner has not been a playoff performer for us. And dude, we're not struggling to finish second in the Atlantic or first like we did this year in the Atlantic. We're struggling in the playoffs. We don't need you to score 100 points in the regular season. We need you to score 40 points in the playoffs or 30 points in the playoffs.
Yeah.
End of conversation. We don't need you to hit anybody. We don't need you to we just need you to do what you do in the regular season.
Right.
So if you can't do that in the playoffs as a Leaf, like as a Maple Leaf, we've had enough non-success in the playoffs. I don't dislike any of them. I like them all. But it's like, okay, can we spend that money better?
Yeah. And then maybe you go get a Brock Besser.
I like the gutsiness of a Brock Besser. I like the way he plays the game. We don't need him to score 40.
The other guys that are available, Matt Duchene.
Yep.
I love that guy.
And Matt Duchene is cheap, right? You're going to get Matt Duchene in the probably $2.5
million
to
right
4
now.
million. What's that?
$3 million right now. That's crazy.
I know. That's a great deal.
Wow. Hey, Brad Marchand is available. What about them bringing? I'm sure. Okay, so
can you imagine if he goes from playing with Boston to playing with Florida and then Toronto?
That'd be crazy.
And I'm telling you, we would not be disappointed to have him.
I know. I mean, if you can't beat him, join him, kind of thing, you know.
And he's a good old Canadian boy, man. He back in 2004, 2005, he was playing on the World Juniors with Sidney Crosby and those guys. That cat, that guy's got a couple years of, let's go get it. So
yeah,
love his attitude. He's a playoff guy. Look at the way he is in the playoffs.
Yeah,
he gets off your mental game, and that's the way they win.
Yeah.
So
okay, so maybe you pick up a Sam Bennett, that kind of stuff. Peter, we have 164 comments. We are not going to get through all of them. Okay, I have not even looked at the comments yet. I will now.
Dang.
We have almost 100 people here. If you haven't hit the like or subscribe, please do. We're trying to pump out good content here. And as you can see on the bottom, I'm doing content regarding YouTube, X, Facebook, Instagram, and Blue Sky. By the way, Pete, last night I recorded the game at the end, and I did a little like 45-second film just with my commentary, no sound, and I said, "Are the Leafs cursed? Asking for a friend." That was you that I was asking for, and there's already been 56,000 people that have watched this reel. So.
That's awesome, man.
So I'll have to send it to you, and then you'll just have to laugh because I'm trying to just ask some big questions, and they're shaking hands, and Brad Marchand's there, and it's like,
bro, I love my buds. There is no two ways about it, man. I've never been anything but a Leaf fan. I'll never be anything but a Leaf fan. But we're gonna have to go outside the box to win a Stanley Cup. We're not gonna do it with this group. I believe that probably 80% at the beginning of this season. And now after this one, I really genuinely believe it now.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to figure out some things here that, like, people are pretty passionate in these comments. I think you can see them as well if you hit the comment button on the right-hand side. But we'll go to Al. Al's here. I've never had Al in here before. He says, every potential free agent just saw jerseys hit the ice twice in Toronto. Who do you think wants that life? I don't know what it is about the Toronto Maple Leafs, but people want to play there.
Yes. But the whole thing, the only other issue that comes is playing in Canada, and the Canadian dollar, blah, 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 blah. Well, the other side of that is that it is the Toronto Maple Leafs. We're the New York Yankees, essentially, of the National Hockey League, outside of the Montreal Canadiens, maybe. And people want to play here. We're an original six group. If you have people that are talking about playing for a team and they know the talent that we have, I would say you'd be surprised how many players, mostly because they're Canadian, want to play for the Leafs.
Yeah. And Jesse's here and he says none of them are core. They're regular season players. Wilfred says regular season means nothing, which
Preach that. Wilfred.
That's right. So here's the one though that Al again commented, Peter, and this is something that we haven't talked about publicly. We talked on the phone about this, but Leafs need to load up on picks and prospects. They are not fixing this free agency. So what's your thought about picking up picks and prospects? Because it's an NHL entry draft, and a lot of the picks that you get don't play for 2 to 3 years. What is your thought about those?
Well, and then the Leafs end up sort of shooting themselves in the foot a little bit, because we're always finishing, if you're talking overall in the NHL, we're always finishing like in the top 7. So even a first round pick for us, and we're picking at like 25, 26, 27, 28. And, unless you're sort of making trades to get to those things. But right now, I don't think that you make that. I think that we could line up some of those prospects or some of those picks. But we actually have a couple of good prospects in line right now. And the other side of it is that I would want to be throwing those picks in years where the draft is particularly strong. And so I think you kind of wait. Maybe you start collecting them. But I don't think we start drafting anybody in the next year or two, kind of thing.
Like what pick do you guys have this year now? It's like 20s, right?
Oh, I think we're 28 to 30. We finished first in the Atlantic, and I think we were third overall or something like that. So maybe fourth. So we're talking, what is it, 32 teams? So not better than 28, I'll tell you that.
Right. Okay, so Alex coming in hot. I know this is a long shot, Pete, and I would do this in a heartbeat. Marner's Knies, Tanev to Vancouver for EP40, Hronek, and our first round pick. You get that offer and you're the GM. What do you do?
Dude, you must know Alex, and you must have put him up to this. That right there.
Nope.
Vancouver would love to have Tanev back. Marner and Knies are not going together anywhere unless we're getting McDavid and Draisaitl.
That's right.
And of course, that's ridiculous. Of course, that would never happen. But we're not talking. This is a whole different deal. That is not even. Alex Knies isn't going anywhere. We may end up paying him 9.5. Knies is not going anywhere. Right. We will have him for a minimum 7-year deal. Mark my words.
Yeah. Your response would probably be what Popeye just said. Jesse, we did talk about Marner didn't want to waive his no movement clause. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah. Popeye says they have not won since I was in kindergarten. I mean, that's kind of showing your age, Popeye. Just saying.
Popeye's got to be 62, 63.
Awesome.
But we're happy to have you here, man.
Yeah.
And say hello to Olive Oil for us.
He's a regular in the channel. I love having him around. Lots of guys won't play in Toronto, Wilfred says. I don't know about that. I've found that lots of people want to play there, but people would say that as well about Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, I think that you're talking two different markets though, dude. Like the whole point is, I think Wilfred had made that comment before as well. Who wants to play there? I think it was classless of the Leaf fans to throw jerseys and stuff on the ice last night. Show some class, people. Show some class. We're a better team than that. We're a better group, a better organization than that. I'm sure the coaching staff and general managers were choked. But in saying that, they're two different markets. The Toronto Maple Leafs, when you're a kid, it doesn't matter where you go. If you're a hockey fan, you know who the Toronto Maple Leafs are, and if you're in Europe, you know who the Toronto Maple Leafs are, and the to play for a storied franchise like that, I think that there's. I'm not saying everybody wants to, but I'm saying there's lots that probably do.
Yeah. Jesse says that Toronto has no first round pick until 2027. So I didn't know that. Let me just look here. I think it talks about...
we lost. We gave up 2 picks.
Yeah, there's 3. You don't even have one in 2027. That's craziness.
Yeah.
That is craziness. Wow. Okay. Wilford, we this is what Peter's been saying. Nyes is untouchable.
Preach that, Wilford.
Yeah.
No, you're not going anywhere.
Al says that Besser's an American. If he is leaving Vancouver, he's not jumping into another Canadian fishbowl. That's fair.
That's a fair comment.
That's true.
Yeah, but I could see the theory in that for sure.
Al, the reason why Matt Murray has 2 Stanley Cup rings and 0 starts with the Leafs here is because he's past his prime. It's over. I mean, the other goalies are better at this stage, right?
If Matt Murray was still Matt Murray, Pittsburgh wouldn't have never let him go.
Right.
They knew. So
McDoust says, careful not to overpay guys who have a good playoff. I mean, isn't that why you want players?
Yeah, I think that I'm wondering if he's talking about my comment about Nyes. And Nyes played well all season long. Nyes didn't just turn up in the playoffs. Nyes is I would tell you right now, by the time he's 25 years old, he is a top 5 power forward in the NHL.
Right.
I believe he's 23.
Yeah, the Beer Baron is here. Love having him here. He says, sure, McDavid won't leave, but what if he wins the cup and that's all he's staying for? I mean, I think if he wins the cup with Edmonton, he's staying there. He's not going to Toronto, my personal opinion, but you never know. He might say, I want to go play at home. I want to go play in Ontario. I've been away from my family.
I actually agree with him. I think if he wins one regardless, I think that he moves.
Oh.
I think he goes either way. I think that whether he wins a Stanley Cup in Edmonton or not, he wins a Stanley Cup in Toronto.
Well, Wilford says he will only leave if he wants to. That's true. That's true.
Of course. It's going to be completely his decision. Like nobody's going to tell Connor McDavid what's going to happen. Is no one told Gretzky what he was. Well, actually, I guess that's not true. Bruce McNall kind of told him he was getting traded. So, yeah. So. Yeah, that's all speculation, guys. That's all something we talk about. What does it take for the Leafs to win a Stanley Cup?
Yeah.
It takes a player that plays like Connor McDavid does and not like Austin Matthews does. And I've seen them both play live. I've seen them play against each other live 3 times. It is not the same player. They should not be within $1 million of salary. I'm sorry. I really like Austin Matthews. I think he's a very solid piece of our team. He is not a top 3 player in the NHL.
Right. I'm with you. Now, Dell is in here, and I love Dell. He's a great guy. I met him personally. He said Panthers just ratcheted up when it really mattered. The Leafs just couldn't match. I picked the Florida Panthers to win the Stanley Cup this year. I keep looking at this team, and it's built to win. It's built to win. So
it's built to win in the playoffs. Like what Dell is saying there, like it honestly, if you were just watching it from the blue line in our defensive zone, it looked like they were on top of our D every second, every pass. They were even heading to where the seam was. They were picking things. They were taking. We sent so many pucks through the middle yesterday because we couldn't use the edges. We couldn't use the half walls. So like they just beat us. They went out and they just beat us, like literally. and the score was not exaggerated. That they beat us like that.
Yeah. We've got Dead Boy Ethan in here. He says Marner to the Canucks. I think it's only if he walks and then we sign him in free agency. That's the only way we get Mitch Marner.
There will be no trade for Mitch Marner.
There won't be no trade because we can't trade Besser. Can we trade the rights to Besser at this moment?
I think before July 1st there might be some. I don't actually. I would be commenting and not knowing what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I don't. I would assume you can do rights, but I don't think that a team can sign him or do anything until after that July 1st date.
Yeah, Dreamer says that they could pull a Gretzky and trade McDavid after a cup, but I mean it's possible. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, there is no Peter Pocklington left in Edmonton though.
I mean, if he goes to them and says, "Listen, I want to go. I've played how many years here? I've given you my all. I want to play close to home." So John's like, McDavid will never go to Toronto. He will if he says, "I want to go and I would like to go to the Maple Leafs. I want to be close to home," right?
Yep. And again, it's all speculation. But I have a feeling that that eventually plays out. Especially if he doesn't win a cup, because they're going to have to figure out, Edmonton's going to have to figure out how to sign some people. And I honestly don't think their goaltending can hold up. If it doesn't do it this year, I don't think their goaltending holds up to win a Stanley Cup.
Right.
I think they're getting very fortunate with Skinner right now. I don't think he's a Stanley Cup winning goaltender. And
he's going to play two great teams next. Like it's either the Stars, and if they pass the Stars, it's going to be the Panthers or the Carolina Hurricanes. And I'm telling you, both those teams can score goals. So,
yep. Absolutely.
Okay. So Wilfred says Leafs might sign Ehlers. What do you think about that?
I think it's okay. I think Ehlers is okay. I don't think he's an upgrade for anything right now, and I don't think that's where we need to get better. Like, we don't need more skill players. I totally hear you, man. Wilfred, I think you're right in the sense that he's a good signing for a team, but we have a lot of skill up front. We really need to have more heart. We need to have more defensively. We need to have players who aren't afraid to be physical, because guess what happens next year, everybody? We're going to meet either Florida or Tampa or Ottawa or Boston. Like, sorry. And Boston's kind of on a little bit of the, the downslope, but I just mean, we have to figure out a way. Do you think Florida's going to get much worse? Are you kidding me? They know what they have to do to win. They're going to be that team next year in our division, and we're going to have to figure out how to beat those guys. It's not with more skill. Ehlers actually had a pretty decent playoff for Winnipeg, so it's I hear that.
But he's walking now.
But I don't.
Yeah. Jesse says no to him. Dead Boy says he's made out of glass, which he's had a lot of injuries.
A skill player. He's a European skill player. He's essentially Pettersson. Just be real. Like, it's just that right now he's playing better than Pettersson is, but he's pretty much the same player.
Calvin's here, says, I miss when Florida was a bottom feeder. How did they get so good? I mean,
so do I, man. Calvin, preach. Florida turned into that thing. And you know what the funny thing is about the Leafs, and people are talking about it, but you and I talked about this a little bit, Trev. Florida went from not being a bottom feeder to making the playoffs one year, and then they sort of made the playoffs twice and then got knocked out, and then they won the first round, and then they won another first round, lost in the second round, then they won the second round, and then they went to a conference championship, and then they went to a Stanley Cup and lost it, and then they won the Stanley Cup the next year, sort of thing. Like, it's like,
and now they're top four.
The Edmonton Oilers with Gretzky did the same thing. They lost 4 Stanley Cups in a row to the New York Islanders before they beat them in a Stanley Cup. Like, it's just, that was Gretzky, Messier, Coffey, Curry. Like, it's part of.
I think the Canucks lost one of those, bro. 82.
Oh, 82. Richard Brodeur.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anyways, we'll stay on topic. Okay. So last couple comments. We're at an hour here together. This is awesome. I'm loving this. 115 people here. Just crazy. 200 comments. This is wild. So let's just see here. What else is something? He might be able to pull something off. What do you think? What do you think?
When he's saying that, is he talking about pulling something off with Marner and stuff like that? Like,
or free agency or in a
yeah.
trade?
I think we're in a hey, fellas, everybody that's listening, everybody that saw this, I think the Leafs are in a good position. Let's not talk. I'm not saying blow up the Leafs. I'm saying we have a couple pieces that are overpaid right now for playoff hockey, and we need to use that money better. And I think that a guy like Brendan Shanahan, who is actually that kind of player, Brendan Shanahan with the Detroit Red Wings he played with Yzerman and those guys. That dude, he could score, but that guy went in the corners. That guy hit people. That guy was a playoff, hard-nosed player. He would fight. And so in the playoffs, you look at a guy, Matthew Tkachuk didn't do anything, dude, as far as points go. He did nothing. And he was all over. He was from the Leaf bench to the far defensive corner, absolutely laying players out. That's the captain of their team.
Yeah.
It's playoffs. It's not a secret. I'm not it's just the playoffs.
Yeah. Playoffs? No. Yeah.
Did you say playoffs?
Okay, so back to the Florida conversation. I think the reason why the Florida Panthers switched is when they got Matthew Tkachuk. They already had a good team. They got Matthew Tkachuk. He's a playoff player. Addition of Sam Bennett was awesome.
By the way, Jesse, I agree with that. Sam Bennett does not hurt us. I agree with that.
I, as a Canucks fan, I want Sam Bennett as well, but I don't think he's coming to Vancouver. So, yeah.
He's been a Leaf killer. He's beat us a couple of overtime games in the regular season and the playoffs.
Right. All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here, for coming out. And I'm sorry, I missed probably 100 comments. It's just such a hot topic right now. As a Canucks fan, as doing Canucks content, I thought this was just a really interesting one. And should the Leafs rebuild? I don't think the Canucks or the Leafs should rebuild, but I think that they can tweak things and they can be competitive. I just think they're both a few pieces away, and it's not actually the Leafs one is less complicated than the Canucks one for sure. Sure. So, man, I wish we were making the playoffs every year, but I get why Leaf Nation's frustrated. So,
yeah, it is what it is. But we're on the upslope for sure, and I think with a couple of extra pieces, as some of the viewers had said there as well. We're not that far away. Do not blow up the Leafs. Don't talk about it. Fans, if you're a real fan, don't talk about rebuilding a team. That we have actually some good stuff happening right now. We need 2 or 3 switched places with players and stuff like that to give us a little bit more character, a little bit more depth, a little bit more playoff. That's what we need.
Absolutely. Well, Peter, thank you so much for being here. This has been a blast. We talk all the time. But it is sure great to talk about NHL hockey, playoff hockey, and thanks so much, man. I appreciate you.
Hey, thanks for having me on, and thanks for everybody that's watching and listening. Go Leafs, Leafs Nation, baby.
Go Canucks, go. Okay, peace.
I had to say that, man.